What's up, everyone? Welcome to my channel. I'm DJ K Token Black. Got in for the first time. Hit that like button, subscribe button. So I watched The Last of Us episode 6 last night. Just want to give a quick little review of it, my thoughts on it, and then we'll watch the breakdown from New Rockstars. My overall thought of the episode, I liked it. I really enjoyed it. It's getting to the parts of the game that I don't remember that much, and I think some of it is like DLC and maybe part of part 2. I do remember the dam, but it didn't go into the dam. I remember them meeting Tommy again. I remember going to the school. I remember the monkeys and stuff like that. But and I think they changed some stuff in this episode, but like I said, not remembering this part of the game and not playing part 2 in DLC. I can't really compare it that much to the game, but as an episode and as far as continuing the story, I thought it was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. We had some more I feel like Ellie and Joel's relationship has blossomed more of, the father figure, daughter figure. Ellie was told about Joel's daughter Sarah. Joel's been suffering from like anxiety or heart attack issues, so his health is like in decline. So he's worried about that. He's worried about if he can protect Ellie or not. Yeah, I enjoyed the episode. Let's see what we missed and stuff in the breakdown with New Rockstars. Sorry, I'm kind of like just rambling. I'm got a real bad sinus infection, so kind of like head's all cloudy and everything. But let's get this breakdown, see what we missed and everything, see the stuff that we can compare the game from Mr. Eric Voss himself. Without further ado, here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of The Last of Us episode 6, Kin, in which brothers reunite and teach each other what communism is. Whatever commie mountain life Tommy's been living, if he was a Desert Storm vet, at least 18 years old in 1991, and it's 2023 now, he looks pretty damn good for post-apocalyptic 50. Let's break down this episode scene by scene for all the references to the game and the details you missed. There is a lot of stuff to talk about from the game, but I will save the spoiler stuff for the end in Spoiler Corner. And by the way, our new channel, The Deep Dive, is now live with a great slate of premium film analysis videos for you to check out. Subscribe over at Deep Dive NR, and you can also support our growing network by getting something at nerdriot.shop like this Last of Us shirt or something from the Deep Dive collection. This guy's called the Vossmanot. Speaking of commies, okay, we begin back in the chilling moment in KC from episode 5 when Henry shoots Sam and decides to take his own life. One detail I didn't mention is how, after painting that orange Super Sam eye mask on his brother, as Henry looked out the window at Joel and Ellie, the reflection casts an orange stripe over his eyes too. The fact that he could not save his brother leaves Joel with a grim fear that he too could fail as a caretaker, which is why he begs for Tommy to take Ellie. It is really the core emotional through line of this episode. We jump ahead 3 months later
to a big time jump.
Wyoming wilderness.
I like this couple right here.
Marlon and his wife Florence, original characters for the series. We see a stack of firewood,
they weren't in the
hunted
game. I
buck's
remember.
antlers scraping
I like both
snow,
of them.
and we're reminded of
Wife was
Bill's home
funny.
in Lincoln, the firewood that he chopped and the hunted game that he suspended and dressed in his shed. Marlon has bow hunted a few white rabbits and comes in just seeing the look on Florence's face, knowing that intruders are in the house. And I just love
seen that guy
Green's
somewhere
happy
before.
now smile when he pulls the gun out.
He's
He's such a good actor who's shown up in a ton of titles like Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
I love this actor. Now Ellie refuses to stay hidden upstairs, and Joel demands they point on the map where they are.
And your answer better be the same as your wife's.
You telling the truth?
Yeah.
Are you telling me the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that
I love
Marlon
her.
still can never really tell what games his wife might be playing. Marlon asks about the town of Cody, where Joel was previously headed.
You seen Cody?
Yeah, I got close enough. It's crawling with infected.
Yeah, Laramie and Wind River Reservation?
Yeah, Wind River Reservation is in Wyoming, and it's a setting and name of a Wyoming region where Taylor Sheridan's 2017 film Wind River takes place, in which Graham Greene co-stars alongside
a good movie.
Elizabeth Olsen
I forgot about it.
Leonard.
That's a
It's an
good
amazing film.
movie.
Check it out. Outside, Ellie takes one of the 2 rabbits that Marlon caught, the smaller one, and Joel tells her to leave it. But it's this moment that seems to send Joel into his panic attack. Why is that? Well, I believe the 2 rabbits represent the 2 daughter figures in Joel's life, Sarah and Ellie. White fur representing innocence. The color white he now sees all around him the further and further west he goes. His paternal empathy is starting to merge these 2 young women. Ellie taking the smaller one triggers him to think about the older daughter that he left behind. Meanwhile, Joel is the hanging deer, bleeding out in the snow, the way he is this episode.
Holy shit, are you dying?
Okay. I'm fine.
No, but are you? Because just a reminder that if you're dead, I'm
I'm fine.
I love how Ellie stumbles on the line.
It's gonna be easy. All we have to do is cross the river of death.
In
I
Greek
wonder if that's like a
mythology,
real-
the River of Death
with
is
that
the
part
river
there, but she
Styx,
actually
which
slipped.
all souls must travel to reach the underworld. This episode is marking the break into the third act of the season, where Joel and Ellie are crossing over into the darkest parts of their journey. Gustavo Santaolala's guitar strings score their walk across the
guitar.
landscape, a rare instance of us hearing it within the runtime of an episode. By the campfire, Joel tapes his boot, reminding us of Tess back in episode 2, and Ellie sees the northern lights.
Aurora Borealis. At this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country.
As she tells Joel later in this scene, her dream is to be an astronaut like Sally Ride. And I totally agree with Ellie. Sally Ride, an amazing astronaut name. Now again, it has been 3 months, but only now does Ellie reveal.
I tried with Sam.
Tried what?
I
Yeah,
knew
I
he
give
was
it like a
infected.
3 month
I
time
rubbed
skip.
some of my blood into his bite. I know, it was stupid. I wanted to save him.
Well, I reckon it's a lot more complicated than that.
And not to bum us out too much by focusing on last week, but it is worth noting that even after his infection took over, Sam still sat facing away from Ellie and he was unable to hear her still.
He was
Even
deaf,
though,
yeah.
as we saw with Ms. Adler in episode 1 and confirmed by the producers, cordyceps fixes your physical ailments. And Neil Druckmann and Craig Mason even said that what Sam worried, that when you become the monster, it might still be you inside, might be the case for Sam in that moment. Joel sends her off to bed.
Dream of sheep ranches on the moon.
Yeah, I love that Joel combines their separate dreams into a mutual shared dream. And we match cut from this nighttime campfire to the morning, and Joel mumbles in his sleep.
Supposed to be. What he said?
Yeah, Joel is saying supposed to be me. He's feeling survivor's
Oh,
guilt
for
and
Sarah.
inadequacy, that he was never supposed to walk this path. He should be dead. And falling asleep proves Joel's fear right.
I'm responsible for you, okay?
Then don't fall asleep.
This is an inverse of Joel and Ellie from episode 4, when Joel was able to let Ellie sleep while he kept watch at night, and then later in that episode, Ellie still fell asleep immediately on the drive. As Joel and Ellie cross what they think is the River of Death, I love the little detail of the snow clumped up on their backpacks, something that the costumer, the set decorator probably would have added to the actors to make sure they look like they've been outside for a while. And speaking of the great outdoorsy costuming of the show, I am wearing this awesome warm canvas jacket. Given
Those
to us by our friends at
details look
Huckberry. You
pretty
can get
good.
one of your own by clicking the link in the description. Okay, so they arrive at this hydroelectric dam.
Damn.
You're no Will Livingston.
Yeah, but who is? So that made electricity?
Yeah, don't ask me. I don't have
So this is the
clue.
dam in the game,
Maybe
I
just
remember.
made something up.
Right?
Will Livingston, of course, the author of No Pun Intended. And remember, after Ellie asked Joel how gas siphoning works, he has learned to not even begin trying. Now, this dam is actually the location of the Jackson events of part
Yes.
1 of the game. And here we see residents are in the process of getting the generator operational. The HBO series jumps past that, showing us the full town to give Joel and Ellie a glimpse of a comfortable, safe home life that they could have. And really, a constructive life that Tommy has made for himself after he left his
I think,
brother.
where'd he
But
get all
the
these
cavalry
nice, clean
uses this
clothes
dog
from?
to sniff the cordyceps on them. Remember back in episode 1, the Adler dog Mercy sensed the infection on Mrs. Adler, so we know dogs can detect this, and Joel freezes as he goes into
Yeah,
another
I
panic
thought she was
attack.
gonna get sniffed out too, because it's in her system, right?
So why doesn't the dog smell the cordyceps in Ellie's arm? Well, it might be that dogs can only smell cordyceps if it has spread throughout the body and taken over the brain stem. But either way, Ellie is a new form of human adaptation to the fungus, and dogs in their immortal, divine character judgment ability just love humans who won't ever turn on them. Now, we see the town of Jackson, and it is thriving. There's the Tipsy Bison Bar from the games, the banners for the Jackson Lights Festival 2003. You'd think they would have taken them down by now, but maybe they're just nostalgic. Ellie passes a woman in a wheelchair and kids making snowmen, showing how this community is stable enough to care for children and the elderly. Joel and Tommy reunite.
I came here to save you.
You got the slick back look. I think she
It's a bit
realizes
different
that.
from the games where there's a bit more hesitancy between the brothers when they first see each other. But
Yeah, I
notice
thought they
Ellie's
were
expression.
all, like,
It makes
lovey-dovey.
me jealous.
It was
She
more kind
senses
of like
that she is now a bit less important in Joel's life.
rift between
She
them.
wishes she had that immediate family connection. Ellie's making friends.
What?
What's wrong with you?
What about her manners?
She was just curious. Kids around here don't usually look or talk like you.
Well, maybe I'll teach them.
Now, this girl isn't named here, but she could end up being someone important in the future of the series. I'm gonna get to that more in spoiler corner at the end of the video. Tommy reveals that he and Maria are
interesting.
together.
Oh, shit. Congrats. Joel, say congrats.
Congrats.
Yeah, I
Well,
love that
his
same
wife
forced
wasn't black in the
friendliness that
game.
Joel just mutters out through his gritted teeth. The same that he used on Henry last episode.
Everything is great.
Dude.
So we get a full tour of Jackson.
House of worship, multi-faith, school, laundry, Oh, bank works as the jail, not that we've needed it.
Yeah, they don't need the bank anymore because there's no capital in this commune, but it sounds like they also don't need the jail, either because people don't break the law or they get shot if they do, or maybe both. Tommy says,
all shared. Collective ownership.
So, communism.
Nah, it ain't like that.
It is that.
It is like that. You're in a commune.
We're communists.
yeah, it's funny how in the 7 years
realized
he's been
that-
here, Tommy really never made the connection, just showing how a lot of people don't really understand what communism actually is. Ellie meets the pony named Shimmer. That is the name of a horse in part 2 of the game. Joel tells
Yes, I
Tommy,
never played
Doesn't
part
seem
2.
like you aged much.
You, on the other hand.
okay, so Gabriel Luna is 40 years old, probably around 39 when he shot this. Pedro Pascal is 47, probably around 46 when he shot this. So Tommy should be at least 50 if he served in the Gulf
Yeah.
War. Joel is a few years older than that, so I love that they at least acknowledge how
That's
young
funny.
these actors look, even though they gray up Pedro Pascal a bit. Tommy asks,
So how's Tess?
She's fine.
She dead.
All right.
She dead.
Goddamn.
She dead.
And the kid?
She's the daughter of some firefly muckety muck.
yeah, Joel has to lie about Tess initially because if he reveals how she died, he'll have to reveal everything about Ellie. But as a side effect of this, because he tells Tommy that he's moving to Ellie for a payment, Tommy continues to see his brother as a morally corrupt person who hasn't moved on from that life of killing people to get by. Tommy doesn't want to take Joel to Eastern Colorado University because he's going to be a father.
I feel like I'd be a good dad. Guess we'll find out.
That's kind of messed up.
I guess we'll find out. That's all you got?
What else am I supposed to say?
Yes, the whole idea of fatherhood still stings for Joel. He once considered himself a good dad, but now he sees the whole idea of fatherhood as just setting one up for failure. And Joel has another panic attack, but notice how Pedro
As a
Pascal
father,
is
you always
blinking
struggle with that.
rapidly at first, but then he stops and goes wide-eyed when he looks over to see a woman who from behind
Yeah,
looks
I mean,
exactly
they
like
got a
Sarah,
girl look
but
just
it
like
turns out
her.
she is a mom who hugs her daughter, a daughter who looks like an even younger Sarah.
Exactly.
Since it is 20 years since Sarah's death, Sarah would
Would
have
be
been
that
old
old,
enough to
yeah.
be a mom, and Joel could have been a grandfather. He's seen the entire erased timeline of his family tree. Now at this point, Ellie showers in this teenage girls' room where a bunch of teenage stuff is pinned on the corkboard, ranking the 10 hottest boys. Number 1, Freddie Thompson. Number 2, Taylor Marks. Number 3, Benny Neufeld. Number
Oh,
4,
what happened to
Chad
Dawson,
Wilson.
man?
Number 5, Ben Monty writes hotter with a haircut, so he was arrowed to number 1. Also,
What
in the
happened
lower
to
left, we see
Dawson,
a
man? He
photo
got
of Ben
scratched
Nyson
out.
that's pre-haircut where he wrote, "Stay cool, never change." Number 6, Scotty R with an arrow pointing to a beach photo. By the way, sorry, other Scotty in Jackson, Wyoming, 2003. You didn't make the list, buddy. Number 7, Ricky Barney. Number 8, Marshall Martins, arrow pointing to Marshall on a stage. Tammy's fave, she called dibs. I like how she wrote the plural version of Tammy's. I-E-S, not Y''S. But whoever this girl is, grammatical and spelling errors everywhere. Number 9, Dawson P, then crossed out not. Yikes, what happened to you, Dawson?
Yeah, I know,
Number
right?
10, Hunter Phelps, and then an asterisk, Professor Smeds, Rolo's fave. Also, how old was this girl? Do you call your
Yeah.
high school teachers professor? There's also a note from a secret admirer, and then some emo song lyrics. No one can hear me when I tell him I'm sad and I can't go on. And then the chorus, nobody but me will ever rise up the
Too much
bullies.
detail.
And later in this room, we see this girl has a poster for Radiohead's Creep and an iMac desktop from the early aughts. Maria left out for Ellie a Diva Cup, a very practical thing considering how glad Ellie was to find tampons 3 months ago. Since the subject is hardly ever covered in post-apocalyptic fiction, I do just like how menstruation is a reality for these characters. Ellie finds the names Kevin and Sarah written on the chalkboard, candles in front of each of them. Kevin was Maria's son, born April 3rd, 2000, and died a few days after Outbreak Day, meaning he was 3
He was
years
3 years old,
with his
damn.
mother Maria, a story that I really just don't want to see ever. Please, Last of Us, don't show us that. And of course, Sarah, that was Joel's daughter, Tommy's niece, died at age 14 the night after
Yeah.
Outbreak Day. Outbreak Day was the 26th, and this was after midnight when she died. Maria reveals that Sarah was Joel's daughter, and they argue about Joel's character.
There's a whole lot you're not telling me. Good. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
I like that we have
that
this scene
line.
because in the game we never
I
really
like that
cut away
line.
from Joel's point of view. So now we get to see how Ellie found out. And it was a result of this nice casual moment between women, where one is cutting the other one's split ends. Just two women looking out for each other. Now this town screens the 1977 film The Goodbye Girl, written by Neil Simon. This was the first rom-com to gross over $100 million.
I've never seen that movie.
Richard Dreyfuss won Best Actor for playing Elliot, who's an actor who moves in with a woman, Paula. The two form a friendship, and it's really sweet. He promises to never leave them, but he gets a huge job offer that he can't turn down. He has to make a big decision. Of course, parallel to Joel's dilemma in
Never
this
seen that movie.
episode, a man who gets stuck with a girl and has to decide if he's actually up to be her caretaker. And I love how they are screening this in the same mess hall where Joel and Ellie ate earlier. Everything is multi-purpose. Joel tells Tommy that Ellie's immune and emotionally confesses how
That was a
inadequate
good
he
monologue
feels to
he
take
had.
care of her and how his dreams
Show
are
some
making
emotion.
him feel.
I just know that when I wake up, I've lost something.
Good acting by
I'm failing in my sleep. It's all I do. It's all I've ever done. It's
Good
failing
acting right there.
again.
Now we get to this big moment where Ellie is reading the girl's diary in the room, but we actually see a close-up of the diary page here. And you can read, "I hate my family. Mom told me she would take me to the mall. Something about me and my big mouth." And then she writes, "Geez, I'm crying on the page." Cheese spelled geese. And then Holly's stepmom has left my dad. I feel so bad. It's all very true and typical teenage girl emotions that Ellie can't at all relate with.
Boys, movies, deciding which shirt goes with which skirt. It's bizarre.
Now, all of this is almost a line-for-line adaptation from the amazing scene in the game where Joel finds Ellie and they have this heartbreaking argument. Except in the game, it comes after Ellie runs away on a horse to a nearby ranch house and Joel has to chase her down. I think it's great that they kept most of the dialogue the same. Even the wallpaper of the room is exactly the same.
Wow, that's really close.
You have no idea what loss is.
You have no idea what loss is.
Now, there is no "you're on mighty thin ice" line, but the big difference I've noticed is that in the game, they're interrupted by Tommy running in and you gotta fight some raiders. Here, it just ends on this heavy emotional beat, which forces us to stay in the headspace of the characters. Now, in this room behind Joel on the wall is a poster of a giraffe. Around this section of the game, Joel and Ellie do find giraffes. Joel envisions decorating a Christmas tree with Sarah. His wristwatch is still working, unbroken. So was this before Sarah died? Well, probably not, because it sounded like his watch hadn't worked in years. So this must have been a fantasy in which Sarah survived until 3 months after Outbreak Day through Christmas 2003. And then from this moment, Joel's mind then drifts to Sarah, age 14, from the morning they ate their final meal from his point of view as he sat across from her at that kitchen table and she wore that same lavender shirt. So Joel decides to give Ellie the choice on whether she wants him as her guardian.
I like how she was so quick to respond.
Yes. They attempt some target
no
practice
hesitation
with Tommy's rifle and his new scope that he mentioned before. Joel proves Ellie wrong by firing a hole right in the H of asshole. Joel explains what a contractor was, what people's politics used to be, and he explains football and turnovers, first downs, and Ellie just sums it up.
So, basically just moving in one direction.
Basically. But violent.
Oh, well, there's that.
Another parallel to their journey. Moving in one direction, there's always violence, but in a constant fear of fumbling the football. That football being Ellie. As in the games, you do run into some monkeys who used to be in the zoology labs. Meanwhile, the way Joel and Ellie find the monkeys instead of clickers upstairs is just like it is in the game.
Well, at least it ain't clickers.
At least it ain't clickers.
We find the Fireflies have cleared out of the university hospital with a packing list that mentions Salt Lake City. And upstairs they find a map with pins leading to Salt Lake City and St. Mary's on that map, which is the hospital they will be headed to. White pins seem to lead from Colorado where they are, but there are other separate pin trails, blue leading southwest to Southern California, red leading upward to Seattle, green moving east across the Great Plains, white continuing southeast toward New Mexico. Joel and Ellie run into a group of raiders and Joel breaks one guy's neck but gets a jagged shank stabbed into his gut, which he pulls out. And I know Craig Mazin knows this because he's talked about it at length on his Script Notes podcast, but despite what you see in TV shows and movies, you should never pull out an object that gets stabbed into you. Now, we shouldn't expect Joel to know that, but Mazin knows how much worse Joel just made it. In the game, the weapon is a piece of rebar, but here, it looks like a broken end of a baseball bat. Joel goes into shock as he bleeds and Ellie freaks out.
I can't do this without you. I don't know where I'm going. What the I'm gonna do.
Last episode, we learned Ellie's greatest fear. I'm scared of ending up alone. And now that is where she seems to be. The music we hear over the end is a softer cover of Depeche Mode's Never Let Me Down Again. That was a song that ended episode 1, and it was a song that Craig Mazin promised would come back later in the season. Here it is. Remember, that 80s song was, in that moment, like all 80s songs, meant to communicate danger ahead, according to Frank's radio code. So in addition to danger approaching, we also in this episode in Joel's greatest fear and Ellie's greatest fear together. Just like the way he merged their dreams of sheep on the moon, now their greatest fears are merged together. She is facing being left alone. He is facing being too weak to be able to take care of a daughter figure. And speaking of fathers and daughters, the vocalist covering Never Let Me Down Again is actually Craig Mazin's own daughter, Jessie. Wow. So episode 1 was male Gen Xers singing these words. Now it's a solitary voice of a Gen Zer singing it back to them in a kind of broken prayer. Okay, there's quite a bit to discuss here in Spoiler Corner, and there's gonna be spoilers for both The Last of Us Part 1 and Last of Us Part 2 games coming ahead. So this episode jumps ahead 3 months, and I don't think it's meant to just show the passage of time beyond Henry and Sam. Practically speaking, it also gives Marlene enough time to make it from the Boston QZ to Salt Lake City, setting up her return in the events of the hospital that I assume will be this season's finale. Ellie's dream of becoming an astronaut, setting up the moment in the game when Joel takes her to a NASA exhibit as a birthday present with an audio recording that allows her to imagine she's an astronaut. In the games, we do not see Jackson until after the events of Salt Lake City, of course. Really, the opening sections of part 2 of the game. So a lot of the stuff from part 2 they hinted at in this episode, and that includes the girl who stares at Ellie, whom Ellie yells at, who most likely will be revealed as Dina, her partner from part 2 of the game. Their introduction in the game is pretty similar to what we see here. Also, we probably caught Joel mentioning he wanted to be a singer. Sounds like this might be setting up the whole thing of Joel saying he wanted to teach Ellie guitar and singing in the game. But most importantly, the map. It's interesting for one trail to lead back toward New Mexico and Texas, because in the game, Tommy tells Joel at the dam that he had gone back to Austin at some point, went back to their house, most of it had been looted except a photo of Joel and Sarah, and Joel does not want the photo. The fact that we don't see that moment here in this episode makes me wonder if they might be saving that moment for the season finale. Also, on that map, yeah, trails to Seattle and a trail to Southern California. Seattle, a very important location to go to in part 2, and then after Seattle, you go on a trip to Santa Barbara and looking for a Firefly community on Catalina Island. So I think this map right here charts out everything we're headed to in season 2. Okay, another reminder to subscribe to the deep dive and watch one of the
thank you,
amazing
Mr. Eric
launch
Voss,
day
for
videos
another
that we have on the
good
channel.
breakdown. Like I said, I never played part 2 or the DLC, so now I'm getting into the territory where I can't compare it to the video game, which is fine with me. It's fine. I'm enjoying the show. Not having that bias now it makes it just I can sit back and relax and just take it for what it is. But yeah, I'm enjoying the show. Can't wait for next week. 3 episodes left, I believe. But yeah, leave a like, leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe. We're like 3 subscribers away from 600. But let me know what you think of the show. If you've been watching it, you play the games, all that stuff, all the good stuff. Really enjoy it. So next week, a little editor. No, I'm having surgery this week, so I don't know when I will post this week's review for Sunday night. So we'll see how I feel come earlier in the week if I get around to making a video. But till then, guys, y'all have a good one. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace.